This episode is for all of you who manage any part of your company's brand. Our guest today is Chris Zmijewski, the VP of Marketing at SAM. Now, SAM is a geospatial services company. Historically, they've collected survey data, so think land and aerial mapping and engineering inspection. But over time, they've evolved into digital forward solutions so the data they collect for clients can be architected, geospatially mapped, accessed from anywhere, and used to really move organizations leaps and bounds forward. But what this means is that SAM has needed to evolve who they are as a brand. So today, Chris is going to talk about how they've expanded their brand messaging, the approach they take, who's involved, and what it looks like to make changes to a brand when you've got an organization with over 1,000 people and locations all around the country. Listen up.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, True Marketing. True is a full-service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit truemarketing.com. And now, on with our podcast.
All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm Morgan Norris, hosting again for Wendy Covey as we have a few summer episodes on brand marketing. I handle brand strategy here at True Marketing, and today I'm joined by Chris from SAM, who's VP of Marketing there at SAM. And I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to this.
This is great. So first, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your role at SAM and just kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis, and then we can jump into some questions. So tell us a little bit about you.
So a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Chris Zmijewski. I'm Vice President of Marketing for the firm, the entire firm. I took over that role, probably over the last 2 years. But I actually started off, I'm actually an artist, went to art school. A lot of people don't know that. Never wanted to be a starving artist. So was doing actually construction layout to sort of support myself in the early days. And it just became very natural for me. Wound up becoming a vice president of that particular survey company. Realized early on that there was a business side that I was probably more apt for. And I was also interested in new technologies. In those early days, technology was changing, like really rapidly. So I was really kind of cognizant about maybe starting my own company and investing really into technology. Brought a lot of young folks on board. Wound up selling that company to a larger New York-based firm and worked for them for a number of years. We were actually bought up by a large engineering company, Stantec, years ago. Worked for them for about 5 years. And throughout that entire process, I got really involved in technology. So introducing new technologies, in particular 3D technology. And that was very, 35, 40 years ago, was just starting out. So my entire career has really been based around that 3D imaging and mapping. It sort of fits back into my art background and that kind of creative side. So over the years, I really got kind of to the point where I needed to maybe leave and start my own company again, investing more in technology. I probably started 3 or 4 companies, wound up selling those to other companies. And my last endeavor was the acquisition here at SAM about 7 years ago. I came on board to really kind of lead technology, 3D laser technology with SAM. And over the years, what became apparent was being involved in survey from the construction side to the engineering side to really all of the services that we provide at SAM. I became kind of a spokesman in trying to work with all the offices and talk about the messaging and so forth, which ultimately led really to the marketing aspect, which I really have, been enjoying that. And, we're a changing company. SAM is, a large multidisciplinary company. We're probably the fastest growing professional services firm in the AEC world. And really we specialize in technology, which is one of the things that really attracted me about coming to SAM.
So SAM is changing a ton right now. So a deep history in surveying and mapping, right? And the things that you have done your entire career, but then really transitioning from that long-standing surveying business, keeping all that, but transitioning into data, moving forward with all of these digital forward solutions. Talk about that a little bit. What has that looked like kind of over the last few years at SAM?
Right.
It just
Yeah, so for over 30 years since the company, since we've been in business, we kind of did some calculations, and we've probably collected more than 16, if we think about data, right, of what we're doing in our deliverables. 16 petabytes of data collected over 30 years, and when you start breaking it down, we kind of looked at some figures, and it's enough to fill about 8 billion pages or plans or deliverables that we provide for content. It's not even counting like the LiDAR data and the other 3D components that we have. Data looks like shape files or CAD files or 2D plans and those type of things. And so where we're evolving is trying to look at strategic wide solutions, where we can integrate that data better with our clients, engage with our clients better so that they have a better understanding of what that is. Really trying to develop high quality asset data platforms, that cut for the organization so they can actually look at their data. Years ago, one of the most frustrating parts is we would collect amazing three-dimensional data, and nothing bothered me more than finding out that firm or that agency, it just sat on a hard drive brick on somebody's shelf, and no one really looked at it, but they didn't even know how to access the data at those times. And so we've evolved now so that we have all these cloud-based opportunities to host data, show data. Other people can look at the data all at once. And so now we're kind of moving into that other direction as a firm is, we collect the data and we do that very well. We get it geospatially correct. It's accurate. We deliver it to the client. But now we're looking at how can we provide solutions for our clients so they can access that data, and then maybe even take it one step further, analyze the data and take it to the next level where they're actually multi-purposing that information and making some very either fiscally responsible or educated decisions about how their organizations are running with their assets.
Yeah. So I started working with you guys. So I don't think I realized that you came into SAM through an acquisition of a company. So that was initially how you came in. And I started working with you guys as kind of because of acquired technologies that you guys acquired, and kind of this challenge of bringing in new technologies and then figuring out how to message those within the existing SAM brand. And so we kind of sat together and had this challenge of what does it look like to take the SAM brand and extend that into kind of new technologies with kind of an existing team. And we would walk through this process. One thing I thought you did really well is kind of looked at your internal team each time and pulled the right people in to start to have these messaging discussions. And I would like to hear kind of your thought process on how you decide who you decide to involve, how you choose the right people internally to involve in those messaging campaigns when we start to message these new technologies, when you have an acquisition or kind of a new concept that you're messaging internally.
Well, having been a part of an acquisition, and my business was all about 3D technology, and coming into SAM, we have like an incredible amount. I mean, just really, literally thousands of individuals, professionals that have all this great knowledge and experience, and are very good at the services that they provide, whether it be, your traditional land surveying, or whether it be the aerial photogrammetry division that we have, or the construction and inspection division that they have. And so we have all of these offices throughout the country, And it became, over the years, I've really learned in dealing with other companies that you have to go in and you have to really educate everybody on the new technology that you're
Mhm.
offering and how that would fit in. And so that kind of led right into like when we began to be engaged with these other firms that were coming in, I knew right off the bat, what the battle would be. Not a battle, but really to make it the most successful is to find the right people within the organization that would get it at the very beginning, that would
Yeah.
understand the technology. So we're not trying to explain it again, but what we needed to really do is clarify the message. And I think I was pretty upfront with you at the very beginning that it's important to not only develop a external marketing message for the firm and the benefit of marketing purposes and business development, but more importantly, and I stress this all the time, is that internal message. Okay, how does this company fit in with the traditional SAM services that we provide? Like, how does that company fit in and how do they integrate? And it's an ongoing process. It doesn't just stop with the one. It's constant reminding, constantly coming up with innovative ways to get that message across those individuals. So
Right.
I was fortunate. I probably worked with almost every office throughout the country with Sam over the years. Got to know a lot of the individuals, and I know the I guess the balance of the people, their skill sets and their vision. Those that had the vision. That would really kind of gravitate to the message that we were trying to develop.
Yeah. You guys have had a lot of support as well, I think, um, from your like top leadership team. I think about Shane and Andy, those type of people have been in on these messaging calls. How has that like top down support been helpful in this digital forward kind of message? Is there anything that you guys have done internally as a leadership team to help kind of solidify that message as you're talking about staying in touch with regional offices and things like that. Is there anything that you guys do to just internally encourage people and help disseminate that message and keep that kind of moving forward with people?
Yeah, so the executive leadership um, is always going to they understand it because they are developing the vision and the goals of the company as it moves forward. So they understand the goal of where we want to go. What they
Hmm.
don't sometimes understand is that how we put that message together to the entire company, make it clear for the other company. And I'm talking about internally right now.
Yeah.
Externally, that's a whole nother challenge is that we're going to go to market and it's Chris, you're tasked with we're going to go to market with this. And so, okay, we're going to market. So we have to help our BD folks be clear on that message. But the internal side of it is again, I'll stress it's the most important because they're the ones that are going to really the doers and the sellers of our services. They're the ones who,
Yeah.
an office might be doing traditional survey work, but their client, they if they understand what another like say extensible does, they may say, oh, wait a minute, you have a problem. I think I know how we can help you with that. Let me get that subject matter expert to come in here. So you'll notice over our projects that we've worked on together, yeah, we'll have some executive folks that'll be on there that are really listening in the background. They're kind of quiet. They're kind of listening in the background, and every once in a while they interject. But most of the time, I've really brought in really one or two key players from that firm that we are
Yep.
acquiring and bringing on and developing that message with them. But then I'm also having other folks. I might have
Hmm.
younger staff members in there that are just there listening and trying to understand that the process that we're going through. And those are the ones that I'm counting on to sort of extrapolate this information or let the information go downstream to all of the other folks. It's all part of the big communication internally that we have. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah. That.
the way I've always kind of envisioned it, that you have to have a lot of different folks in here.
Yeah.
And I will
I would.
say more. One of the most exciting things for me, senior leadership, we always have to start looking at people who are working underneath us and how we're guiding them along in their careers. and having my young staff, who are very,
Hmm.
very talented individuals, having them just sit in on the meetings that we're conducting and our sessions that we're going through has been such an engaging experience for them, because they're learning a lot. They're learning so much about, well, how do you develop a message, or how do you define that, and them sitting there and understanding that process has just really been invaluable. That has also been relayed to me by some of the executive leadership that we have. Conversations like, wow, I really think that this is moving in the right direction. And I think that's kind of helped us with some of the other things strategically that we've been doing within the firm, on business decisions as we move forward,
Right.
conversations that we're having with other offices and some of the other service lines that we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's felt like kind of each time maybe you acquire a technology and then you've got a couple of executives in there, you have a couple of subject matter experts from that technology that's acquired, a couple of marketing folks from your team. And then we have discussions as this messaging is moving forward. And then, your marketing team is taking those messages and carrying them out into trade show materials, and they're working on those as the weeks are going on, and an executive might be taking those messages and working on a board deck. And so these conversations that we're having as the weeks are going on, the messages are kind of disseminating out, as we're working on them, and it's kind of flowing through the organization as the
Sure.
process is
And,
going on.
we've taken it so far as evolving it through our website, the
Hmm.
content that's on our website. Yeah, trade shows. When we have a large banner, I've actually redesigned the entire structure of our booth and the messaging that goes on those banners. The messaging there's so many parts that you guys have brought to the table here. There's the what you call the 30 like word pitch, and there's the 60
Hmm.
word pitch, and those type of things. But within there's like these segments that are just so valuable, uh, outward thinking, that we would have never come up with that ourselves. I mean, that's part of the great joy of working with you guys, is how creative you are in terms of listening to a lot of professionals who are passionate about what they're doing, but we keep saying the same thing over and over again. We keep saying it all over again. It's so refreshing to have like an outsider just listen, and then suddenly, just take that and break that into just 30 words or 60 words. But more importantly, the taglines that come out that have been just phenomenal. We've gone now with the booze, so we've looked at our website, but now I'm working with the proposal teams at SAM and the coordinators who put major proposals together to make sure that that messaging winds up in the proposals. So there's a consistency that sort of goes through our SAM message of who we are and how all of our traditional services that we offer, which we still do, but now we're moving into a whole new adventure, with our
Hmm.
clients, and opportunities with our clients.
Yep.
And I think those messages are pretty clear when we start putting them into all of the material that we're publishing now.
And it makes a huge difference especially when we have these longer sales cycles, when you're getting a consistent message from trade show to website to collateral to conversation throughout the months that takes, right? So when that message is consistent all the way through, makes a
Right.
huge difference.
It took me a while on our first engagement to, it was an interesting learning experience for me, because I sat back and I was kind of quiet at the very
Hmm.
beginning. And, when we talk about the elements of the positioning statement, we were going through all these questions, and
Yeah.
that dead silence on the line when we're asking our subject matter experts, like, well, who are your clients? And it's just amazing that we never really sat down and really thought about our clients in trying to develop a message pertaining to really who the clients are, where they are, what they want, that type of information. And after the first couple sessions that went through, I was like, well, wait a second, I got to bring more people in here to understand this whole strategy here, that of developing that position of what it is. Um, we're probably going to go a little bit further with this internally, just so where our company has our business leads, our business
Yeah.
development people who are out on the road all the time and talking to our clients, talking about the services, and sitting down with them now and going through the exact positioning, elements of a positioning statement of what it is,
Mhm.
so that they can maybe help themselves in that sales process. So it's
Yeah,
been invaluable on that end.
that's great. You say that, that silence, because having not gone through that process, it's so easy. It's so dangerous to not, because it's so easy to sit there and go, we know who our clients are. We know. And then when you sit there and try and answer those questions, sometimes we don't, because we haven't thought about it to that level of detail. And we were talking about this before I hit record, but I just want to even say to people listening, part of the messaging process with you guys has gone so well because as a leader, you have been so present in all of the messaging discussions. And there have been times where maybe a subject matter expert kind of goes really not off the rails, but goes really niche in their specific area of focus or something there, you know, a specific area that they really are passionate about that quarter, or something that's really on their mind, or a client that's really on their mind. And you as a kind of big picture leader can step back in that moment and say, hey, wait a second, but let's think about who our target audience is. Remember, let's take a step back. It's not just that client, it's all of this breadth of clients in these industries. And so this process really works well when you've kind of got a leader in there that stays present and stays focused. And so um, it's always
Yeah, I mean,
it's always
we
helpful to have that.
yeah, we cross so many different markets, right? So we're in the utility market, we're in the energy sector, renewables, oil and gas, transportation, federal. So when you start thinking about all of the acquisitions and trying to develop, well, first of all, when we talk about an acquisition, historically, most of the acquisitions that Sam has done over the years have been really centered around similar services that we traditionally have offered here at SAM. Right, it's a survey company. Yes, they do a great job. That would be a good fit regionally where we want to be located. That we could all be a help. A smaller company coming to a larger company gives them a lot of
Mm.
added value. But now, over the years, the last 2 years, the forward thinking of our leadership and moving to a direction of, yeah, we're collecting all this data, petabytes worth of data, and we're giving it to our clients. And shouldn't we be a part of helping them with solving this complex issue of where that data is,
Yeah.
geospatially where it is and how they can see it quickly? And so when we started bringing some firms on that are so different, and I warned you on the one that this is going to be a tough one, because we were talking about a company that were data architects that were speaking a different language than what normally we do here at SAM. We talk about survey, aerial photogrammetry, construction inspection, 3D documentation, and what those deliverables would be and how we host them all up. But to get a whole nother group of individuals that are talking about assets that go beyond what we even were collecting and thinking about how that fits in geospatially in this very, I want to say, abstract world that we weren't even accustomed to. It was a kind of a mind blower at the very beginning. And I said to you at the very beginning, this, Morgan, is going to be difficult. These are intelligent people who are passionate about what they do, but how we can fit that into the SAM world, how do the two fit together, is what we really, I think, we're pretty successful in merging
Yeah.
the extensible vision with the SAM vision with other visions that are happening, and I think that's going to
Yeah.
bode well for us in the future. So they are interesting because we are developing, and the firms that will be coming on board also is just fitting into that puzzle it's going to make it easier, I think, as we go through. Now that we've gone through that exercise, I think each one
Right.
it's going to get a little easier.
Right. And coming back to, like you said, being able to tell that story internally. So for so long, Sam has collected all this data. You collect all this data for clients, and then you give that data back to clients. And historically, that data has been in various files, but now you're able to architect that data for them in a way that's accessible all the time from anywhere, right? It's architected, it's easily accessible for them, it's accessible over time, it's data that they can grab insights from, it's data that they'll be able to you know, potentially train models and learn from. It's data that's going to really propel their businesses forward, create new opportunities for them, and they're going to be able to do things that they couldn't have imagined they could do before. And so really taking Sam in a completely like leaps forward. And so being able to tell and encourage your internal teams with that, I think is so just such a great opportunity as well.
Right. And the bigger opportunity, Morgan, really is that some of the agencies and the markets that we're in are already in that world, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're already analyzing a lot of information that they have and making some very significant decisions and analyzing their assets to figure out their future of investments, the maturity of the assets, and also client demand, like in the energy sector, the demand of their clients of where they need to be. But now we're beginning to realize the huge opportunities of moving that same idea of understanding assets into, say, the transportation industry and the DOTs that are out there that
Mm-hmm.
have just, millions and millions of roadways that we all travel on, tunnels, bridges, infrastructure, airports, those type of things, which are all assets, which quite frankly, they are ours, and how we manage those and make, really big decisions about where money is being spent to improve those particular facilities for safety reasons and so forth and so on. So I think that there's a huge future there just in terms of where that is. And then we already are beginning to see on the industrial side, like manufacturing and industrial, large companies really understanding that if they understand all of not only where their land is, where their building structures are, but where their assets are within those structures, and then going one step further of something that now we're getting involved in and being understand that there's a fiscal side to that. There's a monetary value to those type of things, which now gets associated with the assets that now becomes the bigger picture. So
Yeah.
this is the exciting part of where the future we feel at SAM is going. We see it. And I think we're bringing the key companies on board and the professionals on board that are really the architects behind it to sort of make sure that that company is pinpointing and making the right decisions on the data that they have. The
Yes.
advantage to us is that we see that we collect data, we do it really well, we deliver
Mm-hmm.
the data. Now we're a part of that process. But more importantly, if there's something that's missing or it's not accurate, we obviously have the ability to go back and collect that data for them. So
Right.
it's a huge advantage that we see in the future where we can go.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that if more companies approached their brand this way, where we've got this strong brand and this strong brand structure, and then let's extend it to a new technology. Let's extend it to the next industry. Let's extend it instead of, I think a lot of brands, they hold really tight and then they go, let's rebrand. And then they hold really tight. And then 3 years later, they go, let's do a rebrand. And it's really chaotic. But you guys are just taking this really thoughtful approach and it's feeling really natural from the outside. And I appreciate it, but I think it is being received really well and really continuous. And it's just a really smart approach. So
So it's
I
really
applaud
it's
that.
Sam. It's
Yeah.
Sam. That's who we are.
Yeah.
And Sam is broadening out in different areas, and that's where you guys came into play. And we were in our earliest discussions is how do I take these core services, these services that we offer that we're really good at, and we've been doing it for years, and we know we're collecting all this data, and me for years have been working behind the scenes our advanced technology group to figure ways where we can host up the data and those type of things. And so now as we're moving into these new companies like Extensible and Cardovid, and what GridWorks is for the utility companies, it's all kind of fallen into play. But it's really the messaging that we've revamped our entire website, with assistance from you guys, in making sure that when you go to our website, it's not just boom in your face with, here it is. No, it shows a company that's evolving, that is doing these disciplines as we move through, and hopefully our clients and are venturing through that process on our website, which is important, and the messaging helps as we go through that.
Yeah, telling that story for sure. Awesome. Well, good. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. It's an evolving process for sure, and just your insights are really helpful.
and I will tell you, Morgan, your staff has been unbelievable to work with. I know that everybody here at SAM has really been just really blown away with the original thought process that you go through and your creative side that you have. And I say this to you all the time. You just amaze me just in terms of being able to listen to us. We say the same thing all the time. We don't even listen to what we're saying anymore. To have an outside person, it's so refreshing to hear an outside observation and come up with, wow, that's just a powerful statement, and that sort of sums it all up. So again, enjoy working with you guys, and we're looking forward to the next projects working together with you guys.
Well, good. We do too. Aaron and I have some good next ideas for you. So
great.
Get ready.
We'll pass those on. So,
awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks, and have a great day.